GoForThe2.com in with the Week 13 predictions. I know we're a day late. Apologies. I was in studio cutting every game from Tuesday through Friday. Yes, Tuesday tonight through Thanksgiving and Friday night. Every game is broken down in depth. Each game synopsis up on YouTube. FNTSY is the channel. College football today, we have breakdowns of every game from Tuesday night action straight through Friday night's ball games in the Big 12 between West Virginia and Oklahoma and that big matchup, the Apple Cup, Washington and Washington State. Check it out, FNTSY, College Football Today. It's going to be more of an abbreviated video. I'm going to give you my best bets, but more importantly, if you want Saturday's picks, tune into the show live. FNTSY, College Football Today, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll break down Michigan, Ohio State. We'll break down LSU, Texas A&M. We'll break down all the marquee battles that have national championship implications live Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. FNTSY on YouTube, College Football Today. Check it out. Also, Optimum and Cablevision, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Channel 238, College Football Today, Fantasy Sports Radio and Television Network. Let's jump right into the selections for Friday. Got 3 games that I really like, 2 underdogs and 1 favorite. Let's jump into the underdog Friday afternoon in the SEC. It's Missouri and Arkansas. Talking about a Missouri team that has won the last 2 in this series. They picked up this matchup last year in Fayetteville, 48-45. Last time in Columbia, they picked up a 28-24 win over Brett Bielema and Arkansas in that matchup. When you look at Arkansas, disappointing road loss in Starkville to Mississippi State, 52-6. They haven't won an SEC ball game, sitting at 2-9 overall, and now face a rivalry opponent in Drew Lock and Missouri that's playing lights out. Missouri coming off a very impressive road win over Tennessee, 50-17. Drew Lock stepped up, that offense stepped up, and they seem to be clicking on all cylinders heading into this ball game. Drew Lock completing 62% of his passes, 23 touchdowns, and Barry Odom has that front seven playing very well, only giving up 129 rushing yards per game. But I still like Chad Morris and Arkansas to keep this game close. Last game of the year, new head coach, looking to pick up their first SEC win. Kids haven't quit, in my opinion. Look for Arkansas to be in this game from start to finish. They'll try to run the football. They're an offense that's averaging 165 yards on the ground, passing for 196 through the air, and do have a solid quarterback in Ty Storey that has completed 56% of his passes. I expect a high-scoring game. In the end, Missouri does pick up a hard-fought 40-33 win over Arkansas. Not going to be easy, though, for the Tigers, but they move to 8-4 overall with a 7-point win over the Razorbacks Saturday afternoon. Another matchup is in Florida. It's UCF in a rivalry game. Last year, it was one game for the ages, an instant classic that Central Florida won 49-42. Clinton Flowers stepped up, made some plays with his legs, and more importantly, with his arm. I look at this game as being equally matched. It's a rivalry game that has huge implications, not just for UCF's bowl hopes and college football playoff hopes, but recruiting for the state of Florida between both teams. You're talking about UCF in the Orlando area. USF is in Tampa. They both fight for recruits within the landscape. And more importantly, I think both defenses are equally matched in this ballgame. UCF coming off a dominating home win over Cincinnati. College game day was there. They stepped up, lived up to expectations. Now have to go on the road in a difficult rivalry setting against Charlie Strong in South Florida. South Florida hasn't stepped up against some of the better teams on their schedule. They got blown out by Tulane. They got blown out in the second half by Houston on the road. But now they're playing at home, and defensively, they're evenly matched against UCF in this ballgame. And I think from an interior offense and defensive lines, they match up with the Knights in this contest. UCF and McKenzie Milton does have the more prolific offense. McKenzie Milton completing around 60% of his passes, and this is a defense in UCF that is giving up 213 rushing yards per game and 205 passing yards to opposing offenses. On the flip side, you have Blake Barnett and that offense. They're averaging over 200 rushing yards per game, passing for over 200 as well. Barnett not as consistent as McKenzie Milton. He's only thrown 11 touchdowns, 11 picks. But USF's defense has given up 231 rushing yards per game. Secondary slightly better, giving up 200 passing yards to opposing offenses. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think it comes down to the last possession. And I'm pulling for USF here. I think they strike the upset. They knock UCF out of bowl contention, out of college football playoff contention from a major bowl. South Florida does strike the upset 45-40 over the Central Knights in this ballgame. They knock off the defending national champions in Central Florida this coming Saturday in Tampa. Another intriguing battle is in the ACC between Virginia and Virginia Tech. You're talking about teams going in opposite directions. I know the statistics for Va-Tech. They've won 14 straight over the Cavaliers. The last 10 games since 2008, they've dominated the competition. When you look at the last 5 games in the series, Virginia Tech has won those 5 games by 13.8 points per game. Picked up this victory last year on the road in Charlottesville by a score of 10-0. But I look at this Virginia team. I saw them push Georgia Tech to the limit last week, lost in overtime. They had an opportunity to tie that matchup, missed a field goal. On the flip side, you have a team in Virginia Tech from an emotional aspect, in my opinion, has quit in back-to-back games against Pittsburgh and Miami. You're talking about a Virginia Tech defense that's allowing 208 rushing yards to opposing offenses, and I think that's the matchup going up against the Cavaliers in this ballgame with Jordan Ellis and, more importantly, a mobile quarterback in Bryce Perkins. I think Bronco Mendenhall has coached his team up, and I think defensively, they have the edge over Virginia Tech. When you look at Virginia, they're allowing 161 rushing yards per game and holding opposing offenses to 188 passing yards through the air. To me, that's the difference. They are forcing turnovers, playing solid third down defense. I think Virginia does break the string. They get a convincing 14-point road win in Blacksburg with Bryce Perkins and the crew Friday afternoon in that ballgame. We're sticking in the ACC. It's a critical ballgame. Early start between Miami and Pittsburgh. Last year, Miami went into Heinz Field undefeated. They came out of that ballgame with a 24-14 loss to Kenny Pickett and the crew. That game catapulted Pittsburgh to the 2018 season, and they stepped up this year. Possibly could win the Coastal with this ball game. But more importantly, I look at Miami, a tale of two teams. After they lost that matchup last year to Pittsburgh, they followed that up with a dominating loss to Clemson in the ACC title game and lost to Wisconsin in the bowl game. They lost 3 straight after playing Pittsburgh last year. I think revenge is on the mind for Miami. When you look at Miami statistically, they showed me something on the road. I thought they would quit against Virginia Tech. They got a dominating road win. Now come back home to face a team that knocked them out of the college football playoff last year. Expect Miami to be in this ballgame. Mark Richt, in my opinion, a slightly better head coach than Pat Narduzzi, and I'll still go with the better athletes on the defensive side of the ball in Miami. I know they haven't showed it, but statistically, Miami only given up 132 rushing yards per game, holding opposing offenses to 141 passing yards through the air. They're +4 in turnover margin and have recorded 31 total sacks. And it comes down to, if Pitt can't run the football, I think they're going to be in trouble in this matchup. Pitt is averaging 245 rushing yards per game. They're only averaging 155 yards through the air. Kenny Pickett has thrown around 1,600 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but I don't trust Pittsburgh should they fall behind. Give me the better speed team in Miami. I think they win this matchup convincingly, 14 points or more, the Hurricanes roll over the Panthers in this matchup. Another intriguing battle Saturday is Tennessee on the road against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has won 2 straight against the Volunteers, but Tennessee showed me something. I know Garantano got hurt last week. Keller Chris stepped up. He's a different type of quarterback, but look for Tennessee to wear down the Commodores at the point of attack. This is a Tennessee defense that's still holding opposing offenses to only 209 passing yards per game, and more importantly, very solid in the front seven this year. They're getting quarterback pressures, play very good third down defense, holding opposing offenses to 33% on third down conversions. Look for Tennessee to wear down Vanderbilt. I think Tennessee becomes bowl eligible. They're sitting at 5-6, need to win this game within the state. They step up and get a gutty 7-point win over the Commodores. Vanderbilt coming off an overtime win over Ole Miss. Shouldn't have won that ball game. Tennessee goes on the road, knocks off Vanderbilt out of bowl contention in this matchup. Tennessee picks up a 10-point win. I think it's high scoring too, for the most part. 33-23. Tennessee gets the victory over the Commodores in this ball game. Another intriguing battle in the Coliseum is Notre Dame on the road against USC. USC has been a disappointment. They lost that matchup to UCLA last week, 34-27. You look at this ball game as a whole. I mean, USC has nothing to play for, right? I mean, USC is down, they're out. Clay Helton's going to be fired. I totally agree with that, but this is still a difficult matchup for Notre Dame going cross-country with Ian Book. They went to Yankee Stadium last week, dominated Syracuse. They now go on the road with Ian Book and the crew. This is going to be a tough matchup. Look for USC to step up. They got blown out in this ball game, 49-14 last year. It does not happen this coming Saturday. I think USC strikes the upset over Notre Dame somehow, some way. Look for Clay Helton and the crew to make some plays. I do not like JT Daniels, but I think they have enough playmakers to challenge Notre Dame's secondary over the top. Notre Dame giving up around only 182 passing yards per game. Look for Clay Helton to pull out the stops. USC does get the outright win over Notre Dame in this ballgame. Another critical battle in the Big 12, it's Texas Tech, Baylor. Texas Tech has dominated the series in recent years, but Baylor's playing much better at the point of attack. They didn't get the win last week over TCU, had some opportunities, did not step up, but they step up this week on a neutral field in Arlington. Love the way Charlie Brewer is playing. I think they can challenge Texas Tech's defense vertically. They have guys like Jalen Hurd. They have Denzel Mims, Lovett, and Ebner at the running back position. Expect Baylor to be in this ball game. They are fighting hard each and every week. And when you look at Texas Tech as well, this team disappointing road loss to Kansas State. I mean, Jet Duffy did not move the football. Their defense was worn down at the point of attack. Baylor gets the outright win over the Red Raiders in this ballgame. Another intriguing battle is Duke, Wake Forest. When you look at Duke with the road loss to Clemson, played Clemson very tough. Now they come back home to face a Wake Forest team that is still looking to become bowl eligible, and more importantly, has some playmakers like Newman at the quarterback position, and more importantly, Greg Dortch that could take the top off of Duke's defense in terms of the secondary. You saw Duke, especially from a secondary perspective, entering that matchup against Clemson. They were only giving up 192 passing yards per game. Trevor Lawrence and that offense was able to move the ball. Etienne did pound the rock between the tackles. I think Duke has the possibility of being worn out in this ballgame. Wake Forest is a gutty team playing on the road. I think they push Duke to the limit. In the end, I do feel that Duke picks up a 38-35 win over Wake Forest, but Wake Forest pushes the Blue Devils to the limit in this ballgame, so check that out. Georgia Tech on the road against Georgia. Intriguing battle when you look at this matchup. Georgia has the opportunity to run the table and make it to the college football playoff. They have the SEC championship game, a rematch of the national championship game last year in which Alabama won 26-23. Are they peeking ahead? Because when you look at Georgia as a whole, they're playing lights out. Got another convincing home win over Auburn. They knocked off Kentucky a couple weeks ago, knocked off UMass in a non-conference game, put up over 60 points of offense. Justin Fields step up. This is just going to be an easy matchup for the Bulldogs, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. Georgia Tech has won the last 2 games in Athens, even though Georgia picked up this victory 38-7 last year. This is not the same Georgia defense, especially when you look at the linebacker play. They don't have Roquan Smith. They don't have Lorenzo Carter. They don't have the type of linebackers that can run sideline to sideline. And more importantly, their front seven isn't as big as they were last year with guys like Trent Thompson to disrupt running lanes for the triple option. Georgia Tech's played very well. They're creating turnovers, and when you could do that on the road and maintain the time of possession, you can be in ball games. I think Georgia Tech pushes the Bulldogs to the limit. In the end, Georgia survives with a 4-point win over the Yellow Jackets this coming Saturday. Stay with me all season long at GoForThe2.com. Those are the weekend picks. If you want all the picks, check out FNTSY on YouTube. College Football Today. We have every game broken down from Tuesday through Friday. If you want Saturday's picks, the top 25 battles, Ohio State, Michigan, LSU, Texas A&M. You want all the big battles. Check it out live, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy the games.